Thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2. It's a great day to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Let's jump right in. So, Chris Hoke says the Colts offense is the Steelers' nightmare, and it's a three-headed monster plus the offensive line. Remember, they have Tyler Warren. I made a video before the draft saying Tyler Warren is a mini Gronkowski or will be the next Rob Gronkowski. I thought that Tyler Warren should have been a top 5 pick in the 2025 NFL draft. Then you have Michael Pittman. He's a big receiver, 6'3", 220 pounds, and can run. And then you have Jonathan Taylor to go along with the offensive line that is absolutely playing lights out. And this could be a very difficult task for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. This game couldn't come at a worse time for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's see what Chris Hoke had to say. They're going to struggle. Chris Hoke says Colts offense is the Steelers' nightmare. I don't think there's one defensive strategy to be employed here. Hoke said Thursday, I'm 93.7 the fan. I think you got to mix it up. You just can't go man. You just can't go zone. But the fact that they have so many eligibles, so many weapons, I mean, this is a number one offense in the NFL, a very balanced attack. This is the Steelers' nightmare. So far on the year, Jonathan Taylor, he's rushed for 850 yards and 12 touchdowns already. Wow. Both of which lead the NFL. He sports a whopping 5.9 yards per carry behind an offensive line that is creating massive holes for him. Woo! He averages almost 6 yards a carry. This is the NFL. This isn't high school. Chris Hoke also went on to say, hopefully the Colts defense isn't as good, that the Steelers can score and they can get a stop here and there, Hoke said. But the way they've been playing since the bye week, they're going to struggle if they keep playing that way against the Colts offense. Hoke also says the Steelers can't afford to pack the box the whole game. Either if they do, their struggling secondary will have to deal with a dynamic Colts passing attack. Wide receivers Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce, and Josh Downs are all having terrific years, thanks to a resurgence from quarterback Daniel Jones. I'm telling you, Michael Pittman is the real deal. He was the real deal at USC, too, for a long time. But we all know the Pittsburgh Steelers, they don't like to cover the tight end, and Tyler Warren is that good. He is and I was completely shocked when the Chicago Bears took Colston Loveland over Tyler Warren. Talk about a mistake. Tyler Warren is a once every 30, 40-year player. I mean it. He's as big as Rob Gronkowski. He's more athletic. He's faster. He was absolutely phenomenal at Penn State. I remember one play, he pitched, they ran a sweep. He pitched it back. He runs downfield. He runs downfield 40 yards. They throw it up to him. He outjumps 3 defenders. They were playing USC and comes down for the score. Tyler Warren is an unbelievable athlete for a man that size. The Pittsburgh Steelers better get ready to cover the tight end, or it could be another huge week for a tight end playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. I feel that Tyler Warren is head and shoulders better than Tucker Kraft. So if the Pittsburgh Steelers don't have a plan to cover the tight end, Tyler Warren is going to have an absolute monster week against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Teryl Austin offers clearest explanation yet of how he and Mike Tomlin handle defensive play calling. Since I've been in the chair, I'm calling it, Austin said via beat report Mark Capoli. And if Mike wants to call something, he calls it. And that's how we roll. I mean, that's how it's been. Well, it hasn't been going very good. See, a lot of scouts came out and said, oh, the Steelers players are old and they're not that good anymore. But here's where I have a problem with that statement. When we played the Bengals, did you really think for Teryl Austin and Mike Tomlin to think that Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay could be one-on-one in man coverage the entire game with Jamar Chase? You can't just blame the players. I mean, that falls back to the coaching. You knew the type of players you had going into the game versus Cincinnati Bengals. You know they can't really run that good anymore. You know they're not suited for man coverage. And yet, the Pittsburgh Steelers played man coverage majority of the game. The article also went on to say it counters what other coaches have said after retiring. Former defensive coordinator Keith Butler noted Tomlin had control of the play calls, a change that happened even late in Dick LeBeau's career. Oh, yeah. Mike Tomlin now is a better defensive strategist and better defense coordinator than Dick LeBeau. So Coach Tomlin takes the play calling away from Dick LeBeau. And then you see why the Pittsburgh Steelers, you see why the team is being driven into the abyss of mediocrity. The last couple of years of Dick LeBeau, Mike was calling defenses here too. Butler said in a 2022 interview, it's something that he wanted to do. It's something he had done already at Minnesota. He wanted to do that here, and daggum, he should be able to do what he wants to do. Really? Really, Keith Butler? He should be able to take play calls away from Dick, the legend Dick LeBeau, who's responsible for 2 Super Bowls. And do you notice once Coach Tomlin took over, because now in his mind he's a defensive mastermind? Look what's happened to the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. So Tomlin, Keith Butler says Tomlin took play calls away from Dick LeBeau, and dadgum, he should be able to do what he wants to. No, he shouldn't. Art Rooney needs to step in and be like, we hired you because you said you wouldn't get rid of Coach LeBeau and you would let him handle the defense. That's why they gave Coach Tomlin the job. And Coach Tomlin goes against his word and takes the play calling away from Dick LeBeau of all people. Oh, yeah, now Coach Tomlin's better than Dick LeBeau. I'm sure ESPN will be running wild with that narrative shortly. Then Austin went on to say, Mike, he's part of the defense, obviously. Austin said via 93.7 The Fan, and he's always been part of it, and nothing changed in that regard. We go through our weeks, we plan. He's in all the meetings, all those things. And so there's really no more change in terms of how we work together as a staff. I love how Coach Tomlin is known as this defensive mastermind. It's just like, wow. Keith Butler, God darn it, he should be able to do whatever he wants. That's Coach Tomlin. No, he shouldn't. No, he shouldn't. Let me guess. We're not going to talk about the big elephant in the room. Troy Polamalu, James Harrison, and Big Ben. All 3 of those players come from the Bill Cowher draft. They were Bill Cowher's players. Coach Tomlin won the Super Bowl with those players. And since that Super Bowl, and since Coach Tomlin has won that Super Bowl, where have the Pittsburgh Steelers gone? The organization is being driven into the abyss of mediocrity. You could say whatever you want. 10 years without a playoff win. A decade without a playoff win. And I thought for sure, I know you've heard me say this before. When the Steelers played the Jaguars and they had the 3 Bs, Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, a Troy Polamalu-led defense, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are led by Blake Bortles, and the Steelers are down by a couple points. There's like 4 minutes left on the clock. And instead of kicking it deep and letting your defense getting a stop with Big Ben as your quarterback, Mike Tomlin onside kicks the ball to the 2nd or 3rd string linebacker, Tyler Makevich. The ball gets recovered by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they run 2 plays. They get a big first down, Leonard Fournette. And in the following play, the game is over. And I thought for sure watching that game, I'm like, he's finished. How is that explainable? You don't kick the ball deep and let one of the best defenses ever assembled do their thing with Big Ben at quarterback with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. You onside kick it and then give up 17 or 20 yards on the first play to end the game. I thought for sure Tomlin was finished. Big defensive mastermind. It's sickening already. I mean, I don't have to make you understand that Troy Polamalu is a legendary player, an insanely amazing player who made the. It's not just so much of Troy's stats. It's Troy made the biggest plays in the biggest games constantly. And then James Harrison and then Big Ben. These are once in a lifetime athletes. These are the cream of the crop that you see once every 20, 30 years. And Bill Cowher assembled these players on a roster, and then the roster was handed off to Coach Tomlin. And he wins the Super Bowl, and now Coach Tomlin is the greatest coach that ever lived. And you know what? By the way, let him take the play calling duties away from defensive coordinator Dick LeBeau, because Tomlin is a defensive mastermind. I mean, it's sickening already. Does anybody operate in reality anymore? The reality of things? Another article written by Alex Kozora. Mike Tomlin predicted Pittsburgh could run man coverage against anyone. The numbers prove him wrong. So going into the season, Mike Tomlin's been the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach for 20 years, seen all types of talent. And he thought going into this year that the Pittsburgh Steelers could play man coverage versus anybody. And so far, the Pittsburgh Steelers are last in pass defense. And what excuses are you going to make for him now? The greatest coach that ever lived. Coach Tomlin went on to say, when you got guys like Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, and Joey Porter Jr., man, we can match up and play man to man versus anyone. That's what Mike Tomlin touted in July on paper. His confidence was understandable. Pittsburgh bought big on the secondary, hoping to complete the defense and match up in a pass happy world, especially in the division. So against Darius Slay, quarterbacks have a rating of 117.6, and yards per catch average is 9.9 yards on Darius Slay. On Jalen Ramsey, quarterbacks have a 158.3 rating, completion rating, and they average 12.6 yards of reception against Jalen Ramsey. So Jalen Ramsey's getting absolutely smoked. Joey Porter is playing better than people give him credit for, but the penalties. So anything, I mean, he could be the greatest, have the greatest numbers, but when you get 2, 3 penalties in the game, it negates everything. Joey Porter Jr., quarterback rating against 66.7, yards per catch 5.5. Brandon Eccles, quarterback rating against 99.8, and yards per catch 8.9. And Chuck Clark is getting absolutely smoked. Quarterback ratings against 158.3, and the quarterbacks average 13.6 yards a reception versus Chuck Clark. You miss Minka Fitzpatrick yet? It's just wow. I mean, these numbers make this one of the worst secondaries ever assembled in the NFL. It's going to be a tough week for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tyler Warren, Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor, an excellent offensive line. The Pittsburgh Steelers better get it together. Because if they don't, the Indianapolis Colts could easily drop 40 points on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2.